My name is Harper. I'm 26 years old. And last Tuesday, I sat in the corner of a lawyer's office while my mother planned how to spend money that wasn't hers. The room smelled of expensive leather and my sister's overpowering perfume. Madison was showing my mother, Cynthia, photos of Italian marble on her phone. "Look at this for the entryway," she said, her voice high and excited. "It would look amazing in Blackwood Manor once we gut that awful woodwork." My mother nodded, eyes gleaming. "We'll need a contractor immediately. We can flip it in a year for double the value." They talked over me like I was furniture. My father, Gregory, paced by the window, muttering about liquidation timelines. None of them asked how I felt about my grandfather passing away 3 days ago. To them, his death was a lottery win. I was just the inconvenient daughter who had driven them here. Then Mr. Sterling walked in. He was my grandfather's attorney, a man with eyes like flint. He sat down, opened a thick folder, and the room went silent. My mother leaned forward, her smile tight and expectant. "As you know, Mr. Sterling began, Arthur Blackwood was very specific about his final wishes." My mother nodded eagerly. "Of course," she said. "We just want to honor his legacy." Sterling looked at her over his spectacles, then briefly at me. His expression softened before turning back to the papers. Per the last will and testament of Arthur James Blackwood. Sterling read, "The entirety of his estate, including the Blackwood Manor property, all investment portfolios, and cash assets, totaling $6,800,000, is hereby left to his granddaughter, Harper Blackwood." The silence that followed sucked the air out of the room. My mother's smile froze. Looking grotesque, Madison's mouth fell open. My father blinked, unable to process the words. "I'm sorry," my mother said, her voice trembling. "What did you just say?" Sterling didn't flinch. He repeated it. "Everything goes to Harper." The explosion was immediate. My mother stood up so fast, her chair tipped over. "That is impossible," she shrieked. My father slammed his hand on the desk. Arthur was senile, he didn't know what he was doing. Madison let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. "Harper." She looked at me with pure disdain. "She can't even order pizza without anxiety. You think she can manage an estate? This is a joke?" I sat there, gripping the arms of the chair. My instinct, honed over 26 years, was to apologize, to shrink, to say maybe we should share it. That's what the old Harper would have done. The Harper who believed she was the problem. But then I remembered the last conversation with my grandfather. He had held my hand and told me, "Harper, silence isn't weakness. If you use it as a shield, don't let them see you bleed." So I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I watched my mother's face twist into greed. I watched my father reveal his cowardice. I watched my sister's mask crumble. In that moment, I decided to disappear. Not physically, but emotionally. I became a gray rock, dull, impenetrable. "Harper." My mother was in my face now. Tell him you don't want it. You know, you can't handle this. You'll have a breakdown in a week." I looked right into her frantic eyes and felt nothing. The panic was gone, replaced by cold observation. "She looks disparity," I thought. I stood up slowly and walked to Mr. Preblian Sterling's desk. "Where do I sign?" I asked. My voice was steady. My mother gasped. "Don't you dare," she hissed. "Don't you dare sign that." I signed. My signature was smooth. I handed the pen back. "Is that all?" Sterling handed me a set of heavy iron keys. "That is all for now, Miss Blackwood." I took the keys and walked toward the door. My father blocked my path. "Harper, be reasonable," he said, his voice switching to a patronizing tone. "We're just worried about you. That house is a wreck. The taxes will bury you. You need us." I stepped around him. "Excuse me," I said. I closed the door gently behind me, cutting off my mother's rising scream. I walked past the stunned receptionist and out into the bright sun. I got into my car, locked the doors, and put the key in the ignition. My hands were shaking, but I didn't cry. I put the car in drive and headed for the coast. Before we watch their world crumble, drop a comment below. Have you ever been the invisible one in your family? I'm the one they only notice when they need someone to blame. I want to hear your story. I drove for 3 hours until the smell of salt hit the air. Blackwood Manor sat on a cliff overlooking the Pacific, a Victorian beast with peeling paint and windows like darkened eyes. It looked abandoned. It looked like me. I unlocked the heavy front door. The air inside was stale, thick with dust. I walked through the foyer, remembering running down these halls when I was 6. Before everything changed, before Madison started winning pageants and became the star. Every star needs a dark sky to shine against. That was me. I walked into the library. Dust motes danced in the light. I realized something then. My parents didn't ignore me because I was unlovable. They ignored me because I was necessary. Every family system needs a valve for its toxicity. They needed someone to be the failure so they could feel successful. If I was unstable, then they were stable. I wasn't just their daughter. I was their emotional garbage can. I laughed. A dry sound. No wonder they were terrified of me having money. Money meant I didn't have to be their garbage can anymore. My phone buzzed. 12 missed calls from my mother. 7 texts from Madison. Harper. Pick up. You are having a manic episode? We're calling the police. Don't do anything stupid with that money. Manic episode. That was their favorite phrase. Any emotion I showed was mania. Any disagreement was instability. They had built this cage of words around me until even I believed I was crazy. But I wasn't crazy. I was done. I turned off my phone. We're gonna fix this. I whispered to the walls. For the next week, I lived in a suspended state. I slept on a mattress in the library, ate sandwiches, and cleared overgrown brambles from the grounds. I started to see the house for what it could be. I was cleaning the attic when the sheriff's deputy showed up. I saw the cruiser and my heart hammered. I went downstairs, wiping grime from my hands. The deputy looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, he said, we received a welfare check request. Your parents, they're concerned about your mental state. I'm fine, I said calmly. I'm restoring the property. They mentioned you might be off your medication. I'm not on medication, I said, because I don't have a diagnosis that requires it. My parents are upset about an inheritance dispute. The deputy weighed my calm demeanor against my mother's frantic story. All right, he said finally. You seem okay. Just maybe give them a call. I'll handle it, I said. He left. But I knew it wasn't over. Welfare check. Off medication. They were building a paper trail. I turned my phone on. One email stood out. It wasn't from family. It was from a law firm. Subject urgent. Petition for emergency conservatorship. My parents had filed a motion asking the court for immediate legal guardianship over me and my estate. They claimed I was suffering from an acute psychotic break. They cited my flight from the lawyer's office and isolation in a derelict property as proof. Attached was a screenshot of an Instagram post from Madison. A video of her, teary-eyed. Hey guys, she said, voice trembling. My sister is really sick. She's disappeared and we're worried. She's not in her right mind. We just want to help her get treatment. Underneath were thousands of comments, praying for her. You're such a good sister. I threw the phone across the room. They weren't just trying to take the money. They were trying to erase me, turning my silence into sickness, my independence into insanity. If they won, I would lose my freedom. I sank to the floor. Maybe they were right. Maybe I couldn't handle this. Then I looked up at the portrait of my grandfather above the fireplace. Don't let them see you bleed, he had said. I stood up. I dusted off my jeans. I picked up my phone and dialed Mr. Sterling. They filed. I said, I know. Sterling replied, his voice grim. Can you be at the manor tomorrow morning? We need to talk. I'm already here. Good. Because Arthur left something for you. Something I couldn't give you until they made their move. It's time you saw Exhibit H. Mr. Sterling arrived at 9 the next morning carrying a heavy briefcase. We sat in the library at a table I had cleared of dust. The hearing is set for Tuesday, Sterling said. They've moved for an ex parte order. They want to ambush us. They're arguing the estate is losing value every hour you remain in control. I looked at the paperwork. Affidavits from my parents. An affidavit from a doctor's Eris Thorne, a psychiatrist I had never met, diagnosing me based on my sister's descriptions. "This is perjury," I said. "It is," Sterling agreed. "But in family court, narrative often wins, unless you have irrefutable proof." He pulled a small, silver USB drive from his briefcase. It was labeled Exhibit H. "Arthur was a judge for 30 years, Sterling said. "He knew the law. And he knew his son. He told me if they ever questioned his capacity, or yours, I was to show you this." He plugged the drive into his laptop and clicked play. The screen flickered. And there he was, my grandfather, sitting in the very chair I had slept near. He looked frail, but his eyes were sharp. He held up a newspaper to date the recording. "My name is Arthur James Blackwood," he began, voice raspy but steady. "I am of sound mind, and I am making this recording because I know my family." A lump formed in my throat. "If you are watching this," he continued, looking into the lens, "it means my son Gregory and his wife, Cynthia, have challenged my will. It means they are trying to take from Harper what I have rightfully given her. They are likely claiming she is weak, or unstable, or unfit." He leaned forward. "Let the record show, Harper is the only one of them who is sane." Tears pricked my eyes. I bit my lip. Gregory sees money as a scorecard. Cynthia sees it as a spotlight. They have spent years stripping my granddaughter of her confidence so she wouldn't realize she is the only one with the strength to carry this legacy. I have watched the emotional battering. I have watched the neglect. His expression hardened. "I am not leaving my estate to Harper because she is my favorite. I am leaving it to her because she is capable. She is resilient. And unlike her parents, she has a conscience." To the court, I say this: my son and daughter-in-law are not concerned guardians. They are vultures. The video ended. For a long moment, the only sound was the ocean outside. I stared at the black screen. "He knew," I whispered. "He knew. Sterling Efjemel. And he gave us the weapon to stop them." My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "The police are on our side. Harper, don't make us drag you out in handcuffs. Just sign the papers and we can make this go away." My thumb hovered over the screen. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to tell her she was going to lose. But I thought about the Grey Rock method. A reaction gives them fuel. If I fought back now, I was just the unstable daughter. I put the phone down without replying. A rock doesn't argue with the hammer. It just breaks it. "Let them come," I said to Sterling. "Let them drag me to court." Sterling smiled thinly. "You're not going to settle." "No, I'm done settling." I picked up the USB drive. It was warm in my hand. "Prepare the defense." "Mr. Sterling," I said, "but don't tell them about the video. Let them walk into court thinking victory was guaranteed." The days before the hearing passed in cold silence. My mother left 17 voicemails, swinging from sweet concern to venom. "You ungrateful brat. You'll rot in a facility." I saved them all. Evidence. Tuesday arrived, wrapped in fog. I put on a black suit, pulled my hair back, and realized the girl in the mirror wasn't the family's black sheep anymore. She was the CEO of Revenge. The courthouse smelled like polish and tension. My parents and Madison sat in soft colors, faces arranged in mournful sympathy. My mother mouthed Harper, reaching out with trembling hands. I ignored her. Judge Thornton entered and called the case an emergency conservatorship petition, claiming I was incapacitated. Their lawyer stood, oozing sincerity as he accused me of instability, insisting they only wanted to save me and the family estate. Sterling rose. No opening statement. No witnesses. Only one piece of evidence. He plugged in the USB. The judge frowned. Highly irregular. It was prepared by the testator, Arthur Blackwood. My grandfather's face filled the courtroom. My parents froze. Madison's confusion turned to dread. Arthur spoke of the abuse, the scapegoating, the greed. My son and daughter-in-law are not guardians. They are vultures. Then the final blow, he left everything to me because I was the only one with character, the only sane soul in a house of madness. When the screen went black, the silence felt like vacuum. Judge Thornton removed his glasses slowly. In my career, I have never seen a man testify from the grave to protect his grandchild. When my father tried to protest, the judge barked. Sit down, he dismissed the petition with prejudice and referred my parents for perjury investigation. It was over. Outside, the sun was bright when my mother chased me down the steps. We were trying to protect you. She gasped. My father demanded we fix this, insisting the money was theirs. You don't have to pretend to care anymore, I said. When my mother screamed that if I drove away, I was dead to them, I rolled the window down an inch. I've been dead to you for years. I just finally buried the body. 6 months later, Blackwood Manor breathed again. The brambles were cleared. The air was salt and lavender. I turned the East Wing into an artist residency, quiet people making loud art. Inside, sunlight and conversation replaced the old dread. In my office, a photo of Arthur sat on the desk, caught mid-laughter. My phone buzzed. The blocked calls list still held my parents and Madison. My pulse didn't change. I no longer wondered if they regretted anything. Arthur left me a fortune. But the real inheritance was permission. Permission to let go. To live. I wasn't the daughter who needed fixing. I was the architect of my own life. And for the first time, the foundation was solid. The best revenge isn't shouting. It's living so well their noise can't reach you.